their love for Bedford County when they live. When you get to come to stay in such a great place like the Bedford Springs, that helps our business. It helps us to do better science. It helps to make people relaxed where we can do things. So you got a kind of an idea about Lampire from the video, but I'd like to go through this. We're a multi-million-dollar international company. As I stated, we work in all different parts of the world, supplying different types of reagents, diagnostic reagents, pharmaceutical, life science is a very broad term. So there's a difference between biotech and pharma, diagnostics. We actually work in areas of oncology, cosmetics as well. Our facilities, we'll talk about throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We have different locations, 5 different locations throughout the state. We have 500 acres total of farmland. We have 3 different laboratory facilities. We're actually represented in 3 different counties in Pennsylvania. Well, our team is of over 130 employees. Over half of those employees now reside in Bedford County. So we were founded in 1997. The story goes, and it's true, Greg made a left instead of a right and showed up the wrong place for a job interview. This is an early stage pictures. I was a student at Delaware Valley College. I was an animal science major, and I was supposed to be going to a cattle farm. Showed up at a horse farm. Met a fantastic gentleman by the name of Krug. Actually became like a second father. Craig didn't know anything about the horse business. In his life, the area was marketing, and he did some really great things. Worked with, back in those days, it was very interesting. What was going on with hijacking had a whole different meaning than it did today. He actually hijacked part of Congress and took them up to Canada. This was during the Cuban era, and there was very concerns for the pilots. He was representing the pilot unit and such. But in his success, he decided to retire, and he set up this beautiful horse facility. And when he did set up this horse facility, he thought it was something that Bucks County needed, and he was a visionary. Well, a company came that wanted to buy what was called defibrillated blood, defibrillated sheep blood, defibrillated horse blood to make culture plates, blood art plates. This is when Greg showed up, and Greg Krug. And in other words, I was cleaning 50 box stalls in the morning and at night and taking care of these horses, and he came to me and says, I have a company that wants us to supply blood to them. In other words, how can we do this? And then the rest was the start. So people always ask us, you know, how did the name of the company come about? Where did we get our start? So it starts, you know, it was a play on words. We were out in Lancaster County one day, we were bleeding sheep, and we had an Amish farmer coming in, stroking his beard, looking at what we were doing. He says, you know what? You guys aren't vampires, you're lampires. And in other words, Craig's background with the marketing and public relations thought that would be a great way for people to remember what we did. So the name Lampire was born. The evolution began, we've been doing it, as Betty said, for 40 years. Doug, in other words, we've been, you know, it's been strategic growth. We're not a huge company, but in other words, for 40 years, it's been very strategic. And we've been through a lot of different technologies, and we've seen the life sciences grow, and we played a major role in this. When we talk about our facilities here, so our farm facility back in Bucks County is 40-acre farm facilities. We run several different species here, both of large and small animals. A lot of it is domestic farm animals, but we do work with small laboratory animals as well. Down the road, we have a biotech research center. This is where we work with different types of cell lines, contract manufacturing. These facilities are very state-of-the-art. You'll hear about clean rooms, classifications, special air handling systems. When you actually visit our facility here, it's kind of like a maze how you walk in, because we have to protect the product in all different ways. So you have to enter the building from different sections and different areas, and we don't do crossovers. The staffing here is, in other words, again, a really diverse group of people, and which supports the area, but it's, again, on its international fronts, the amazing contacts that we get that come through here. We're amazed at the facilities and what we can supply and what we can do out of there. Then in Lehigh County, we have our lab facility up in Coopersburg. This is near Lehigh University, near Bethany Steel. This is where we do our human blood work. We work also with tissues and organs at this facility. We actually work with the abattoirs. One of the great things about the state of Pennsylvania is its abattoirs, believe it or not. So many states ship their livestock for processing to our state. It makes it really a benefit for our business. because the FDA, in other words, who controls our business, also controls the food business. There are a lot of similarities. So we're able to save companies with significant dollars by collecting their raw materials from abattoirs, because we can go all the way back to the farm. Many of your meat processors today, as we know, are raising their products themselves or are contracting with farmers to raise products for them, so there's a lot more control. And this has become a big part of the industry for us. Actually, some of the abattoirs count on selling their byproducts as much as they do as the products that they're trying to produce for their income. Now we go 200 miles southwest. The 400-acre farm facility here, as you notice, we spell farm with a PH. Our farm, in other words, is a little bit different than other farms. You'll come, we'll have people say to us, your animals live better than we do. One of our most recent buildings that Betty had showed you earlier, the view from up where that barn was built, many of the employees jealous that, in other words, why didn't we put housing there instead of putting, farms up there? But it is a very, very specialized location. We have over 25 buildings at this site that are developed in different species. And then, as Betty stated, in other words, we came through about, in other words, 10 years ago now, took over this textile building. They were producing LLB and Ship and Shore shirts here. There was over hundreds of sewing machines. We gutted the entire building and we turned it into a Everett bioprocessing lab. It was modeled after our biotech facility, but on a larger scale for production. So do your development, your research work here, do your manufacturing out here. And we've again increased that building now to capacity where we had the foresight that we would know we wanted to grow out here. So we already had excavated to double the size of the building, and we're hoping to do that in the near future. So why was the western expansion? Why didn't we just stay in Bucks County? Why didn't we stay in Lehigh County? Why did we come 3.5 hours from our corporate headquarters? Well, the business was growing. We lost the agricultural presence, in other words, in Bucks County. Route 78 came in, which was coming now from New York City into upper part of Bucks County, just above us, and it got more economically feasible to grow houses than it was to grow farms. So we started to lose our farm presence, and that was a very, very important part of Lampire. So not only when you start to lose farms, you lose the operations that support those farms. So we lost our good feed mills, we lost our farm equipment, we lost the knowledge of farming. Though we do have nice, home farms, the backyard farmers are still in Bucks County. They came up with a great program to sell, buy the development rights to try and hold on to the open space, but it was a little bit of shutting the barn door after the cow was out. As we increased to come out here, we found great agricultural presence. We had increased farm support and a great workforce we found to be out here. So again, the location, in other words, the winner we say was Bedford County was our site because we looked all over the state of Pennsylvania. Where was the best place to go? And there were a lot of places that were good options closer. But we feel the real winner was Lampire. And for these reasons. Why Bedford County? Well, the BCDA plays a big role. I call them the dream team. You hear Betty, you hear all the things that she's doing. The three of them, in other words, you can do anything. You can present any type of problem, any type of idea, anything you want to do, you can make happen. But it's not just them, it's all of Bedford County. The introductions that they've done, these companies that you see scrolling across here have helped us in many, many ways. The banks, the lending institutions here, how they work in collusion with economic development, how they work with the contractors, our vendors here. This has been probably one of the best experiences for Lampire to grow, has been the people of Bedford County. You get support from all different areas. So when I'm said that I represent Bedford County, how can you not? When you have this type of support to grow a company that started with 2 individuals that today is over 130, supplying products all over the world, Bedford County plays a big part. And we're very thankful for that support. So this is what it looked like when we first came to Bedford County. There was a gentleman, his last name was Morrill. He was a big part of Breezewood. He had the Best Western, the Hardee's, and the steakhouse that was there. And he had set up this farm to raise beef for his steakhouse that he had there. And he had several other restaurants. He didn't know me from anybody, okay? A veterinarian that we had back east who used to come out here to hunt recommended that I look at this area. He thought it was a good area for us to move. We weren't the only farm moving out of Bucks County. And when we came, in other words, this gentleman met with me, we sat down, and some of my people to this day remember us, and his words of wisdom they always gave us as he sat in his rocking chair and talked on me, and he gave us a chance. He let us rent the farm for a couple of years to see if it would work with the option to buy. And then he gave us an option to buy another farm. And that's how we grew here in Bedford County, by somebody just opening up a chance on somebody who was just starting out in business really to go. Today, in other words, we have over 25 different vivariums there, all different types of species of animals, over 17 different species of animals there, all different types of conditions that we work under. We've had built barns to develop animal testing for equine infectious anemia, the Coggins test, where we had actual positive horses that were positive Coggins. That can spread by a fly or mosquito, biting insect. We had to build very specialized buildings to hold these horses so that we didn't spread the disease anywhere else. So we ran sentinels. If I wouldn't have had the help of the local government, in other words, the USDA, and that to do this, to make this happen, we wouldn't have been able to do it. This you saw one of our newer barns that we just built here, Betty mentioned the diabetes testing. It's very, very important. This is one of the largest companies in diabetes testing. We built this building with the help of economic development and the local banks. This is not, in other words, what you would call your standard building. And this was a land development site. We had to come in, we had to bring power in, so we needed the help. We had to put a road in, we had to drill a well. In other words, it's a two-level building. We had to put support buildings in to do it. And we developed the site so that we could put 6 more buildings up and do all that planning. Our processing center we talked about, in other words, we're very excited. Betty mentioned our 30th anniversary, and we had this. And we're glad to share this 10-year anniversary of being in this facility with the Springs. What better group to celebrate it with? But this was really special for us. This opened up a lot of opportunities to support the farm that we were building. It was very necessary to have an operation like this available, and to put together these type of rooms, these type of manufacturing facilities is not inexpensive. We put millions of dollars into this building. We continue to do so. And as we grow it, in other words, the technical opportunities continue to grow because technology continues to grow. And it's important that we can have that support as a small company, privately held. We don't have, in other words, investors. In other words, we are a privately held company trying to fund this, and it's a very capital-intensive business, especially as you're trying to get into these new technologies. So one of the areas that we've expanded in, just recently put in, is a product that is connected from tissue we'll talk about in a few minutes. So just to put in just an operation like this is small. This was only 2,000 square foot addition, 2,500. And that water system that you see there was $300,000 alone, just to put that in. And the cost of maintaining those type of systems just to produce these type of products. Developing the clean rooms, the processing and all this. These, you're dealing with top companies, were inspected by top agencies to put through that. This is some of the things that are happening out in Bedford County. It's tremendous. As we stated, we deal with the diagnostic, pharmaceutical, biotech, environmental, cosmetic companies. We're working, in other words, on an international basis with these companies, and people still ask me, what is it that you do? So in the general terms, I try and tell people, we're like what the coal mine is to the steel industry. We're that raw material supplier. We're the ones that you don't see the big names. I'm going to show you some of them in a few minutes here, but in other words, we're the guys behind the scenes. And the things that we do, the things that we touch every day. Now remember, we're dealing with living things. That's what biotechnology is all about. And with biotechnology and you're dealing with living things, it's not a 9-to-5 job. So when you're looking for that special workforce, when you're looking for those dedicated people, and you come here to Bedford County and you find them, you start to find out, in other words, more what it is that takes it to drive for success. These are some of the products you hear about: custom antibodies, immunochemistry services, blood and biological products, immune-related reagents, and specialized products and services. Doesn't mean anything, right? In other words, what is all that? So I want to just kind of show you and hopefully make you proud of how some of these products are being used around the world. And what, in other words, if you were to go to your drugstore and where you can see some of these products show up. But we put products up into space. We've been up at the space station. We put biological warfare, a very big area, still a concern today. Desert Storm, in other words, you know, very important. We talked about the diabetes, drugs of abuse testing. We talked about the cannabis. In other words, this is an area that, in other words, is not just in that area. There's the concern. There's the concern in our community in Bedford County. There's concern all over the world. In other words, about some of the drug-related problems. We're doing and making tests more simpler so that we can detect it and track it. Therapeutic drug monitoring. This is many, many aspects. You know, therapeutic drugs can be everything from cancer treatments to treating heart attacks, whether a person's had a heart attack or not. The animals themselves, some of the animals at the farm themselves are bioreactors. What does that mean? That means that the animals have been manipulated by genes to produce a drug that we harvest within the milk. And the animal is absolutely producing that drug. And it's really a fantastic technology. It's very cost effective, and again, it's to help cut healthcare costs. Animal models for drug discovery. You're hearing more and more about gene work and what's happening in the gene world. This is a big part of what we do, and we supply those animals to top researchers around the world. We talk about, in other words, one of the products, just to bring it home. There's your rooster, okay? We're collecting rooster combs, okay, from different parts of the country. We bring them in and we start the process that will end up to be injected into the joint. The hyaluronic acid is a key lubricant that has been used to help people to not have to go for knee surgery for the knee replacements. It's not 100% for everybody, depending where you're going after it, but it's a very good treatment for early stage arthritis in the joint. Being produced here in Bedford County. Hematology control. I have a little cartoon up here about drawing blood. But this is one of the companies out there that was the founders, in other words, started in Chicago, in other words, during our lifetime. This is something that any patient, you know, you go in, they say you want to see your hematology control, you want to see what your blood work looks like. So you're looking at your platelets, you're looking at your cells, in other words, whether it's red cells, white cells, all important information. Well, the machine has to be calibrated. In other words, to make sure it's working after so many hours or every time you turn it on and off. We supply a combination of goat, chicken, goose, and alligator blood to make that spectrum to calibrate the equipment. And most of all, that comes from here, from Bedford County. Other products that we've been working on in the diagnostic arena. Disease testing. We work with the HIV, Zika, Ebola. Scary things. Pregnancy, diabetes. Food. Are there nuts, in other words, in that food? In other words, this is becoming food allergies and things like that. More and more are becoming a problem. Looking to see, is it really vegan type food? In other words, being able to test, you know, is there different products in there? Even people want to know, they're telling me that this is beef, but is it really beef? Tests are being developed and being made so that you can test for these kinds of things. We talked about drug testing, antibiotics. We've been for many years producing tests to test milk for antibiotics. Very, very important. But more today is the idea of organic and inorganic foods. Have they been in? Have the antibiotics been found in the feed? Are they really, in other words, antibiotic free? There's a lot of health issues concerned about the amount of antibiotics that we take in that we don't even know. Pregnancy tests. This is one area that, in other words, you know, this type of testing, what you see this day, revolutionized home pregnancy. It used to be for people who might, in other words, talk to their elders, heard the saying that the rabbit died, that you were pregnant. Because the old test for pregnancy was that they would take a sample of the patient and inject it into the rabbit and look to see if the ovaries were stimulated. So either way, the rabbit died. But the situation was, the old attack was that the rabbit died and we were pregnant. Over the years, we've come a long way. They've developed several different studies. Today, a woman can urinate directly on a stick, get a digital readout that will tell her if she's pregnant or not. And some of these tests are so accurate, they'll work 5 days after conception. They like to say after 30 days or first period, to be safe, but it's just amazing. And we're producing the key reagents here. Our antibodies are showing up on this pad as it wicks through. Okay, this is the wicking pad. It goes through. You have a test line, and then you have the control line. And there's other things that have to go on those that will help make those tests work. Other areas, in other words, in the research, fluorescent antibodies. You can, in other words, do here and get more of a analytical testing. You can get more accuracy testing and know exactly, in other words, what it is and what the titer is in concentration. More specific than the over-the-counter type test. A lot more sensitive. Very, very important, but usually requires instrumentation. Therapies, target cancer cells, target drug delivery. This is an area, you know, cancer touches all our lives. And in other words, we are beating the battle. It might not seem that way at times, but early detection is key in fighting cancer. So when we play a role in helping to catch cancer at early stages, more and more we're finding out more information so that cancer can be beat early on. The PSA test that men do, when that first came about, Lampire was part of that. It was a company that was in San Diego, California. They started up and they had the first prostate cancer test to come out. It was actually one of the first ones to use what was called monoclonal antibody. Lampire was there. It actually revolutionized Southern California to become one of the hotbeds for biotech. Just that one company and the research work they did and how they grew. Our newest product line, we just bought a company, in other words, it does custom cell culture media. Why is cell culture media important? You've heard of stem cells. Stem cells is becoming like what antibiotics were in the future. This will be a big part of the future of healthcare. This will save lives. This will have so many different aspects. They're still learning about and trying to do it. Regeneration medicine that you'll hear about. Carnegie Mellon, University of Pittsburgh, doing fantastic work in those arenas. So I want to tell you a little bit, about Lampire, and our employees are very, very diverse. We have a wide group. As you expect, we do have veterinarians, but we have scientists of all different backgrounds. But with the educational program we've been able to do here with Bedford County, we can develop also a competitive force where we can start their education, their learning, our life science business very early on. It's important that you find the people who want to do this. They're not interested in it just for the job. Our atmosphere is trying to make it more family-like, to make everybody understand the importance of what they're doing. It's striving to get it right first time, every time is one of our battles. We put a lot into our quality systems. I'd like to identify Kathy Jo Price. Kathy Jo, if you just stand up. Kathy Jo was the second employee that we ever hired when we came here in Bedford County. Kathy Jo is a perfect example of the type of people we've come to find. Kathy Jo started on the farm with us. She started then going into the lab. She started working with key clients that were some of the products we were just talking about. Kathy Jo is also now head of our HR out here and works directly with our offices. Constantly learning, constantly growing with Lampire. This is what we see with our workforce out here, and we're really proud of it. The educational partnerships we feel are a very, very key part. Not just here in Bedford County, but throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We want to make Pennsylvania strong. We want to give them a very strong name in the life sciences. It's a great industry. It's a progressive industry. It's going to be there for years to come. So we work with schools all over. Today, in other words, we have a gentleman with us, Mr. Williams, who did a tremendous job in the city of Philadelphia, changing a school in one of the poorest districts in the country, and giving these students the opportunity to develop careers in the life science industry. And we were happy to be part of that and to work with the pharma group there. Tremendous opportunity. Mr. Williams, if you could just stand up and just be recognized for a second, but his work. Today we'll be meeting, in other words, with Scott Shealy, works with our Secretary of Agriculture on a special program. There are 3 agricultural high schools in the country. One is in Philadelphia, one is in Iowa, and one is in California. And we're going to be working to try and rebuild that program and make it strong so that we can have a continuation of feeding our agricultural workforce.
Absolutely.
Thank you. when we work, you know, we've been recognized in some of our awards and things like that, but it shouldn't be us. It's these institutions, in other words, these colleges, the community colleges and that work, they're the ones that really deserve the recognition. It is not easy to be an educational institution. They're striving. They're, you know, fighting for fundings and trying to do it, and we need to support that. They're educating our youth. They're developing our workforce. We need to be competitive on a global basis. It's important that, in other words, you understand what's happening around the world globally. And if we're going to be competitors, if we're going to do it, it starts here. It's giving people the opportunity to learn, to expand, to do that research. A large part of Lampire's business is with the universities. We're working with them, with their research. Big Pharma, taking a lot of heat, in other words, high healthcare costs, things like that. They've been looking for years how to reduce their research costs. One of the main reasons that, in other words, healthcare costs is high in the United States is because most of the research takes place in the United States. And not every drug is going to be a winner. Most drugs don't make it to the marketplace. They fail along the way. So they're working now more with academics. They're putting more money into academics to fund it, to say, okay, we like that research. We're going to, in other words, take that over, and then they buy it. This is where companies are coming out of. They're coming out, starting in incubators. The educational forces have had to become businesses. They have their incubators, their startups, companies that, in other words, come out. A couple of years ago, right where I'm standing today, the president of Penn State said he wanted to start taking the alumni funds and gearing toward entrepreneurship. He wanted to see more partnership between Penn State and entrepreneurial business and bring that through. They put together huge business facilities to interact with that. And it's important for you as business owners to know that this is a resource for you. This is a place you can go when you're thinking about your business. IT is always increasing, always changing. You can get help from here. You're looking for that new technology. How do I bring in this automation? How do I bring in the new technology? It's here, and the workforce is here. Community involvement is very, very important to Lampire. And what a great community Bedford County has. We have what we call Team Lampire. Our employees bring us involved. They get involved in many different events here in Bedford County, and I think everyone should be very, very proud of what Bedford County does. The money it raises on so many different levels, money that stays in the county, money that goes to help on a national level, it's tremendous. It just seems, it's just one right after the other, and the people don't tire. We've had bed raises. We've had other events where it was not, in other words, just a simple, 8-hour or 3-hour cycle. I'm talking 24, 48-hour events and things like that. It's just been tremendous. And we're very proud of our Bedford employees for what they've done, and proud of Team Lampire. The growing continues here. We're proud to be working hand in hand with Bedford County agencies and such, the local schools and businesses and awareness. This is what's made us successful. But we're committed to Bedford County. This is where we see Lampire's future. We enjoy our other facilities. We have some good structures there, but this is where we feel we want to go, and we want to continue to grow. So I hope I made you proud to know a little bit more about what we're doing here in Bedford County and how it will continue to grow, but how the employees of Lampire, how your fellows and citizens here in Bedford are helping, really human health, animal health worldwide. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to open up to questions. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Nobody knows to know anything? Thank you. Betty, can I just ask you to just come up just for a second? I want to show you something. We'd like to thank Betty. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. Read the words on there, because they really state who you are.
In appreciation for your passion, unconditional commitment, and...
You need your glasses.
Well, it's not the glasses, it's the light. And enduring, dedicated service.
You're the best. Thank you so much.